We'll do it live. Hello and welcome everybody to Nerdstalgia Live. I'm your host, Timmy, alongside Donnelly, Daniel, and Rich. How we doing tonight, fellas?
And the YMCA,
All right.
Tim.
That goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about before the show.
Oh, sure. Mustaches. The mustaches be real.
They do, absolutely.
They're more popular than ever.
How's everyone doing?
Oh, fantastic.
Doing great, man.
This episode sponsored by Miller Lite. Every episode that happens in my home is typically sponsored by Miller Lite.
It could
The
be.
Truman Show, sponsored by Miller Lite.
Yeah, it could be and should be.
Yeah, honestly, if we get Miller Lite as a sponsor, we're doing something right. So
Yeah, they're doing better than Bud, right? They're not doing so well
Yep.
with their current sponsorships.
yeah, that's for
We're swinging
damn
wild, both on both sides. I actually read an article today that they just had to like double down on like this America campaign
Yes,
to try to reel America.
Yep,
like
something
that
with a
side
ton
of-
of Clydesdales and stuff like that.
They're trying to get two Clydesdales and pull both sides of
Maybe
America
they should
together.
just try not having shit beer, and then people would drink it, and they wouldn't need any kind
Absolutely.
of marketing.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
They-
What are
they
your
wouldn't
thoughts
get
on Miller
riled up
Lite,
because-
though, Rich? You like
Oh,
Miller?
you know I'm a Miller guy. Yeah, Labatt's and Miller are my go-to cheap beer.
There you go.
Yeah, Miller is like my at-home fridge beer. Like I
Yeah.
don't usually get it when I'm out, but like that's my go-to to just keep in the fridge. It's got to be ice cold though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah.
a quick shout out to the chat. Thank everybody for joining us tonight. As always, we've got Bagel, Christy, Karen, Monty, Techie, Kyle, and more filtering in. I'll show you guys out as you jump in. But thank you all for joining us. We are here every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube Live. If you're not already following us on our socials, at Nerdstalgia Pod on all platforms, you can search us up. And if nothing else, join the Facebook group because that's the most interactive, the dumbest memes you'll ever see. So
It's
that
mostly shit
alone,
posting. Yeah.
yeah, it's straight garbage posting, but
It's just a barrel of laughs.
it is a
we love it.
barrel of laughs.
Barrel of laughs.
We've got a great show ahead of us for tonight. Tonight we are going to do something a little different. Obviously, we're all movie buffs, but tonight we're going to dive in and really go deep on the horror movie genre, kind of the state of horror movies today, where the horror movie genre kind of started, and we're going to end the show with our rankings. As always, we're going to rank our top 5 horror movies of all time.
We might also rate how rank they are, depending on how gory.
Oh.
some of them are ranked.
Some of you smell the gore through the screen.
So
How much Splatoon?
that being said, how you guys doing?
Doing
Doing
awesome.
well.
I had to get my that being said out there right off the rip.
Well, it
Just
sure
do
won't be the
three of them.
last.
I'm going to have a tally here throughout the show for every time I say. I'm going to try to keep it under like 500.
Good luck. You're going to need it.
I agree. I probably will need it. What's everyone watching right now? We all caught up on Mandalorian?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Wow. I'll just say
Yep.
wow about that one.
Yeah, fantastic episode.
Yeah, and for those of you watching that aren't caught up, we're not going to spoil
No
anything on the live show. We will not spoil anything. We're gonna try to keep it very general discussion, but we are close. We're 2 days away from the season finale of this season's Mandalorian, and so far, I mean, for me, it's been a little bit of up and down.
Agreed.
But this last episode really brought me back in a big way. So if you haven't seen the most recent episode of Mandalorian, definitely drop what you're doing and go check that out. Not
So
right
even
now.
even the episodes that have missed the mark haven't missed by that much. It's still been a solid season, I think.
The last one missed pretty hard.
I feel like
I disagree. I mean, I know you're talking about the cameo episode, and the cameos were cheesy, but aside from that, I don't think it was a terrible episode. Didn't really move the plot. That was my biggest complaint, not the cameos. Didn't move the overall plot of the season much until the final minutes. But other than that, I didn't think it was terrible. I mean, the cameos were a little hokey, but
little.
I mean, I think that's my biggest issue too, was the no plot moving. Every episode's driven the plot pretty significantly throughout the entire season. And I like a fast-paced movement for this show. So the rest of them are really good. But yeah, that one just didn't hit the mark for me. And it's because of that exact point, Rich, is that it did not drive the plot at all. They could have done so much more, I feel like.
I liked what they were trying to do with the kind of like noir detective story. I think if they had leaned into that a little bit more.
Yep. Yeah. It's like almost a procedural CSI situation.
Yeah.
They're showing up.
It didn't land.
Yeah. It was a little weird. Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, it's just a little odd that there were no cameos at all in the season, and they just put them all in one episode. Just jammed them in there. Did nothing.
It was probably filler. They probably tried to stretch it.
Well, they also had what's his name?
Who? Christopher
SNL
Lloyd?
alumni. He was in an earlier episode, wasn't he?
SNL alumni.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name now.
Oh, I don't know.
He's also on the Goldbergs.
I'm sure I'd recognize him when I see him, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Blank.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting. I don't know. I've never watched the Goldberg, so I'm not sure. But man, I almost said it already. I almost
wasn't
got
Jeff Garland,
out of the way. But anyways,
I mean, the rest of us can say it, right?
Yeah, you guys are free.
Oh, sure.
So that being said,
yeah, Tim Meadows. Yes,
Tim Meadows.
Oh, that guy.
Oh, right.
Tim Meadows.
Yes.
Ladies' man, right?
What a weird.
He was in an earlier episode this season, wasn't he?
He was.
Yep. So I mean, there's another cameo.
All I could think about was, can I buy you a fifth sandwich?
He comes in with that.
Yeah, like I wish he would have said it.
Yeah,
Bill Burr was a valid.
It wasn't a cameo. That he had a legitimate role. Yeah,
he did. Yeah, so Bill Burr did.
That was a solid addition to the cast.
I agree.
Yeah.
But that being said,
you can do that one.
We are not here to talk about Mandalorian. We spent enough time on Star Wars last week. There'll be more Star Wars content in the future, but tonight we're here to get a little bit spooky, Halloween come early. We want to dive right into kind of just the horror movie genre in general. So I guess like to kick us off, like why don't you guys kind of give me a rundown of like your first introduction into horror movies and kind of like maybe your first time that you really get the shit scared out of you, and we'll kind of take it from there.
I mean, I can remember. I'll start off if you don't mind. I was a child, probably 8-9 years old, and discovered a VHS that was recorded off of HBO from back when my parents had cable. And it was Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors.
That's a good one.
And that was my first introduction to horror as a whole. It was great, and I really was sucked in from that moment. The gore, the violence, the shocking imagery did not affect me. And I don't know what that says about me, but I really enjoyed the movie and was hooked from then on. And then I started discovering, the children's version of horror shows, Goosebumps, the TV series. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark is so good.
Yep. So with all of those being said, that's really where my horror kicked off, and I've been a fan ever since.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, I feel like most 90s kids came pre-desensitized. We kind of came out, we're like, oh no, oh no, what is that? Like it was immediately fun. Like I remember for myself, I walked into I was at like a friend of the family's house or whatever, hanging out. My parents were there. I was young. I could have, maybe 5, 6, something. And I walked into a room and they were watching Beetlejuice, and it was exactly during the bodies, where they were pulling their face apart. Like it was the really cool practical effects. And I remember seeing that as a kid. I was like, what is that? Like, it didn't make sense. It looked real enough to a kid, it was like the practical effects were pretty impressive. you know, it was enough to convince my primitive child brain to, you know, be like, what is actually happening in here? And then from that moment, like I loved it. I was always, you know, I always loved horror movies, and not like any type. I like zombies. I like slashers. I like all of it. So
I agree.
Yeah,
this is a fantastic movie. It's probably one of my all-time favorites.
and it was fun too. Yeah, it was a little bit scary, a little bit creepy, and it answered, for a kid at least, it tried to answer some of those like weird afterlife-y questions. It was just a really cool movie to see young.
Thank you, Monty. Appreciate it. Commenting on my shirt. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, some of the comments before, real quick, Rich, before you go. Like Karen says, I grew up with Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that classic.
That's a classic one, and honestly, that's like one of the first horror movies that got a remake. I feel like with Vince
think
Vaughn.
you might be there, yeah.
And I actually liked it. I thought it was good. Like I didn't think it was trash.
The remake is, I mean, essentially a frame for frame remake of the original.
It is.
So you know, it's solid. There's no comparison to the original, but Vince Vaughn definitely did a solid job with that.
One of the best twists in cinema ever.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
What a twist.
But
So
yeah, go ahead, Rich. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good.
I mean, I did.
So, so that being said,
for real, respectively,
is similar to Donnelly. My first experience was the Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It was the original, though. I'm a little bit older than you guys by a few years, and I stayed up late. You know, wasn't supposed to. I had a TV in my room, and they were showing an edited version on, you know, broadcast TV at 10 p.m. or something. And that was my first experience with a horror movie. And, you know, it definitely sufficiently kept me up at night. The movie, though, that really messed me up as a kid, my dad, being the fantastic parental unit that he was, dragged 6-year-old me out to the drive-in to see this movie called House.
House.
Oh
my gosh.
House.
I was afraid.
I can't watch it to this. I cannot watch it to this day. You know, my dad was single at the time, so anytime he wanted to you know, go see a movie, I was his companion, and you know, ratings be damned, you know, inappropriate content be damned. So he dragged me out to the drive-in for first experience at the drive-in to see this horror movie, and it terrified me. I mean, many sleepless nights, and like I said, I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. To this day, I still won't watch it. I have no interest. That was the first horror movie that truly messed me up.
No,
do you remember?
So hey, thanks, Dad, if you're watching.
I got to ask you, Rich, there was a particular scene where I tried to rewatch the movie and the scene came on again and I shut it off because I had the same fears as a child. There's a scene where batteries are on a table and the batteries roll off the table and drop to the ground. And then they look over and the person's fine. They go down to pick up the batteries. And when they stand back up, that person is no longer a person.
Oh, okay.
Horrid, atrocious monster.
Okay. It's kind of like,
you know, and the thing
on the
is,
wing there in that movie, I mean, it's right in the window, and the guy's like, ah.
Oh yeah, that was.
You don't see it coming as a kid.
What was that? Tales from the Dark Side?
No, it was that old school famous movie with the plane gobbling up. There's something on the wing.
Oh yeah, that's the Twilight Zone movie.
Twilight Zone. I knew it was.
Yeah,
Twilight. It was the Twilight Zone. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something.
There's something on the grabbing the stewardess, like she's like spilling scotch. All like, you gotta believe
like.
Tim Curry ruined comments for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm just reading some of these comments here.
It's funny, like my introduction into horror wasn't actually like horror. I remember the first thing I was really scared of was the Gremlins. So the Gremlins, for whatever, because I was way too young when I saw it, because my sister is 7 years older than me, so a lot of this stuff would be on and really shouldn't have been watching it, but I did.
I slipped in on
Gremlins, like I just remember being at night. I had this window in my bedroom, right? And I had curtains in front. And at night, with a certain lighting, the curtains would emit a shadow above the window. And I used to call it the rat shadow because it looked like a big, long rat. And for some reason, like that that shadow used to scare the shit out of me. They used to make the hall light be on, that rat shadow. But anyway, after Gremlins, like between the Gremlins and the rat shadow, I was absolutely terrified to go to bed every night. Then I was introduced to the Leprechaun movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leprechaun was creepy.
That's not really
Leprechaun was
supposed to
creepy.
be horror,
No.
but
It was still creepy.
He was just a creepy little thing running around, just looking at
He
him.
was.
He was
But
ghastly.
the first movie that really like messed me up, like really stayed with me, was The Omen. The first horror movie that really just stuck with me was The Omen.
It's probably
There's something about creepy kids.
Yeah.
It was creepy kids and in the mirror. Yeah, they remember the rat shadow. Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, it's another great one that just burrows
see,
right
like,
in.
Kyle says had nightmares of Nicholson Joker when I was 5. Like everyone had that. Like wasn't really supposed to be scary, but like this weird like something that just affected them a certain way as a kid. Like
It's like a baby bird imprinting on their parent.
yeah.
Like they see that thing and they're like, oh.
So I have one of those. So my dad, for whatever reason, had an Arthur Frazzarelli mask, the Fonz.
Oh, jeez, I can only imagine.
And
Get on it.
Of course.
He must have been at a costume party or something. He had this thing on his dresser and he asked me, he's like, yeah, can you run to my room and grab, I don't know what it was, but there was this mask on his dresser. I lost my shit. And yeah, I couldn't watch Happy Days for years.
To this day, I can't go into a public bathroom.
No Happy Days, huh?
That was his office. I can't go in there.
Happy Days sucked so bad.
Oh, I was such a big fan.
I love Happy Days.
Bad.
It was the right hokey. It was so
Come on, you can't do that to Richie Cunningham and the family.
I didn't mean to loop it. What the hell just happened?
The poop looper. I paid extra for the poop looper feature.
Someone take these keys away from me.
Figure out your tech.
Jesus. Let's my God. There we go.
You know, another really great one. I just remember this one. Ernest Scared Stupid. The trolls in Ernest Scared Stupid. They did such an incredible job on the practical effects. When you look in and when you watch that movie and you see how many trolls in certain scenes they have, and they're all very different. That all took a huge amount of planning, and like they made them all wet and slimy all the time. They were very fast. Like they were creepy, and they would just like rip your door off. Like they weren't playing. Like they were gonna crush your bones and snort them like they were real trolls. And
you notice that back then, because everything was like puppeteering and like mechanically done, there was no like CGI or anything.
Yeah,
everything was always wet.
Yeah, everything was wet. And, it looked real though. Like their noses were all globby and like
they all had like stuff dripping out of their face.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Angelica Houston and as the Grand High Witch.
She was good.
And the witches when she takes the mask off.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That you want to talk about something that'll stick with you for life.
Yeah,
that will.
I'll tell you, for me, and I will never not be afraid of getting wrapped up in cotton candy and my blood sucked out through a silly straw. Because of Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be mentioned.
I don't know why that movie like terrified me as a child when I saw it, and it's not even scary. Like I've watched it as an adult, and I'm like, this is
they're just juggalos.
Awful.
Yeah, they're just juggalos high on Fanta running around. Like,
like this was a kids movie. Like, explain to me how.
That is horrifying.
How?
Fetch my opium pipe, child. With the feed.
So in the chat,
I don't have the
mentioned the Blob.
The Blob. That's a classic.
I don't know why, but same thing. It creeped me out as a kid. I mean, the premise is absolutely ridiculous, but for some reason I thought it was terrifying.
Well, you know what the Blob did? Oh, go ahead.
The Indiana Jones face melting. Yep. You guys chat is killing it right now with these calls.
That was a really good one as a kid to see because, like, you would stay up late just to see that, and then be like, I shouldn't have stayed up late to see that.
Yep, that was bad.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man.
Unlike the eating of the monkey brains, that was awful.
And the bug when they take the shell off the bug,
like,
it looks like cat food. No,
I don't know, that whole stab in the hand, ripping out the heart and holding that up.
Well, that was that was cool.
That was cool.
I was okay with that.
Honestly, the part that freaked me out more about that scene was the guy slowly burning to death in the cage as he was going down.
As he lowered down.
He was getting the good grill marks, bud. Like he was sizzling his ass like he was 2 feet off the lava. Like, he was entering orbit before they brought him up.
I agree. So,
entering orbit, he was anyway. That being said,
big ball of pink snot chasing people, says Monty. It's pretty much what it was.
Well, you know what the blob did well though is it showed that your enemy or the thing you're afraid of doesn't have to be fast to get you. It just has to be. It has to be consistent because it knows that you have to go to
be
sleep.
honest.
Look at good segue into Friday the 13th.
Look at the horror movies, like the original, like all the classics. When you think of like Halloween, Friday the 13th.
I'm looking at Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, the original zombie. Yeah,
they would walk and catch somebody half their size running full speed with that slow, ominous walk. Like obviously there was a twig somewhere on the ground that they would inevitably trip over.
We all 90s kids or not, we grew up with the tortoise and the hare, and we know that tortoise is going to beat because that hare has to fall asleep or rest or whatever, and that's when the zombies get you.
Final Destination, it's kind of horror. I mean, it's not. I guess it's not the horror genre, but that
movie is like a slasher flick.
I can't drive behind a log truck without immediately thinking I'm dead.
Everybody.
Like, oh, it's over.
I don't know anybody who does not feel that way with it.
Yeah,
you think it's got to be good to be a logger driver, knowing that nobody wants to get too close behind you and everything. You've got all the room on the road you want.
Oh yeah,
you just put a couple extra loose chains that aren't even doing anything just to flop around. You'd be like, I don't know if that dude loaded that correctly. Like maybe I didn't. Don't get near me. Don't pass on the left or the right. I mean,
that was a great movie. But yeah, you said segue into Friday the 13th. Like, here's the deal. Like, there's obviously some classics out there. There's a lot of them. I mean, we talked about last week with like Evil Dead. That's coming back.
Yeah.
Which looks amazing, by the way. Like,
I'm excited for that.
You guys did you all see the last one? The last remake?
I didn't.
What was the last one?
It was like 2016 or 2017.
Oh, no.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it's incredible. You have to go watch it. It's amazing.
There's a Stars series that they did with Ash versus Evil Dead. That's the last I saw.
Yes, I saw that.
Oh, no, this
Netflix.
is a movie.
Was it on Netflix or was it Stars?
Well, Stars and Netflix are in partnership, but I think it originally aired on Stars.
Consistent, wet, and slimy. Oh my god, that's great. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to remakes, I think there's a few that have got it right. I think there's a few that have got it wrong. I'm gonna start with the one that I think was straight and utter trash. Okay, and I want to get your opinion. Okay, I think the worst horror movie remake ever was The Nightmare on Elm Street.
Disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah.
Go. You know the one I'm talking about, though?
Yep. Yeah.
It was
with Rorschach from
yes.
Watchmen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was so bad.
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
The design, the way Freddy looked, Freddy's voice, the story.
It's not good.
It's terrible, dude. It was horrible. And that's one of the few that I just absolutely shook my head at.
It's one of those remakes where you're more insulted because you're like, you thought you could do better than the other one, and this is what you did.
Yep.
Like, just cancel it halfway through. Like, if you can't pull it off, don't do it. You know,
Caitlin,
you have to be confident and bring something new.
I agree with the Rob Zombie movies are the worst. 100%.
I put the Nightmare on Elm Street below.
I really like the Halloween one that he did.
So here's my thing.
You like that one?
The first one, yeah, where he's
first
young.
One was not as bad as the second one. Second one,
honestly, the original, that one's more better to me as far as a story goes because I actually cared about what happened to the kid. The first one didn't really do much of that.
So I think the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, I think the Freddy redesign, they lost their audience. It was too far of a deviation from. It'd be like trying to redesign Jason's mask or Michael Myers' mask.
Yeah.
It was too much. I mean, that's, you're going to see that movie to see Freddy Krueger. And
they went out of the way to make and he's less threatening too. It's not even that and they changed him, but they didn't even try to go more over the top. They smoothed his features. He's smaller. It's just, it doesn't make much sense.
That being said,
it's contagious.
I do think the Halloween remakes, the Rob Zombie Halloween remakes, were worse. They just I don't know. I just thought they were a mess. It was gore for the sake of gore, like shock value. There's no coherent story. Yeah, I just thought they were just a complete mess.
I only got a story from his, as far as like knowing his origin, like what he went through, like why he was when he found out he was the way he was and that he was different, like that was captured very well in my opinion. But
you got
again,
more of a story with a kid,
I only saw the first one though. So
I thought it was just, I thought it just sounded like psychobabble bullshit, to be honest.
I mean, when he's a psycho, that's kind of
in Rome.
He's being correctly labeled as far as I can see.
I just remember being really excited for the Rob Zombie movies because I don't know. I'm a fan of Rob Zombie. I like a lot of his work. I haven't seen The Monsters. I heard it's trash, but
which one?
I haven't seen it.
I wouldn't say it's trash.
There's not a lot of good reviews out there. That's why.
Yeah, but like, here's the deal. It's not. You've got to understand what it is going into it. It's a super, super unique style, and he went for something very, very specific. And I think he captured it for what he was trying to do. But that being said, I don't think it was great. But I don't think it's deserving of all the hate. I watched it, and I don't know. I didn't hate it.
Which movie are you talking about?
The new Monsters by Rob Zombie.
I haven't seen that yet. Sorry.
I mean, they're rebooting a lot of horror. There's a lot of horror that's coming back. There's a lot of continuation of horror that we thought was over. You know, I mean, Scream 6 came out this year. We talked about that. Does that need to keep going? Like, that's one thing I find with horror movies that is unique compared to everything else, is there is 7th and 8th and 9th editions of horror movies. They continue franchises well into the grave, pun intended.
I mean, that's almost like a franchise or a genre tradition, though. You know,
it's becoming that way, isn't it?
We got a little bit of a long comment, but I want to read it because I think he actually this person hits the GZDR forever. The whole Freddy series is about him being innocent and the parents burning him alive. That's why we got all the merchandise from that series during Halloween. Mm-hmm. Remake put it in our face that he actually was basically a child molester. Mm-hmm. Notice the merchandise died after that movie. And honestly, I feel like Nightmare on Elm Street really did kind of die after that. Mm-hmm. Like when they painted that picture, it was always kind of an unspoken thing in the originals. But like when they remade that movie and really put the focus on that, it was twisted. But like at the same time, it really, you haven't heard anything else from Nightmare on Elm Street since.
Right.
So to your point,
you're hearing rumors on Friday the 13th, Halloween's.
There's nothing in production right now.
Nothing. Yeah. And they're even talking about reviving Texas Chainsaw again. And Klez says, hands down, one of the best horror movies I've seen is Hereditary, not a franchise, but a wild movie.
Agreed.
Really, really good movie. And like for a modern horror movie, Klez, that is fantastic. There's a few that have really.
It was just so different.
Yeah,
it was so unique. I certainly was. I don't know what I was expecting when I watched it, but what I got was not it.
No.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. I know we're doing our rankings. We're doing a top 3 or 5 or whatever. But when I started going down that rabbit hole, I ended up doing, I think, like a top 15, and that is definitely on my list for sure.
Yep. Oh yeah, I mean, this is another one here. Saw. I mean, they kind of started a new era with what they were doing
with Chris Rock.
That's right. Oh man,
that's with a different.
It's too bad because the first Saw movie
was amazing.
It was.
Even like 1 through 3 weren't bad. The first one was awesome.
I mean, Saw epitomizes the trope in horror that I love, which is the ultimate twist. Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's an ultimate twist in a horror film. Like that's why Psycho was so great. That's what makes Saw so great. You know what I mean? You got to have that trope in there with the horror franchises. And they definitely nail it with Saw. And they continue to do that up until a certain point they did. But, you know.
So what I like about the Saw series is that there's a mythology. They created this universe within the Saw universe. And, you know, as the movies went on, it was kind of a, diminishing returns. But the potential is still there. You know, they built this whole mythology and world. And, I think if they can do a soft reboot, not completely wiping away what came before, but maybe just kind of, giving it a little bit of a U-turn and righting the ship. I think there's still a lot of gold there to mine.
Yeah, and like I think there's certain modern horror franchises that
Sleepwalker was fucked up. Sleepwalkers. Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
Tell us how you really feel.
That's honestly that though is the best type of review for a horror movie, not a big long lengthy thing. It's just like no, that one's fucked up. I don't want to see that one. Like okay, that's a good one. That's 5-star.
That's the crazy thing. It's like the horror movie genre is super broad, right? Like within the horror movie genre, you've got slashers. You've got more that are like kind of horror, but they're more, I guess you could call them thrillers. Then you've got like the jump scare shit. Then you've got the super twisted stuff. And my favorite has always, and Dan, I know you agree because we've watched a lot of these, but like the ones that leave you feeling just unsettled.
Yes.
Right.
Like it gets over and you're like, oh, like
The Visit.
Well, that was how Heredity was.
The Visit. That one just gets under your skin and just rots under your skin.
Visit
you just feel gross. You just want to go like take a shower and stay away from
the Visit with the grandma just puking all over the floor.
The whole thing was so messy. But that's why it was great though, is because it hit all of those parts. It was a physical danger because they were unpredictable. I'm not going to ruin anything, but like then there was a mental angle of it. Then there was so there was a whole bunch going on in that movie, which is why it was so unsettling. And the music was incredible in it, like the suspense.
Yep. Yeah. What's everyone's take on Jeepers Creepers? I'm not a Jeepers Creepers guy.
The first one was okay, but that's it.
It was okay.
I like the first one quite a bit. I thought it was pretty good for it was a good solid creature feature. I thought it's nothing spectacular. It wasn't anything really genre changing, but I thought it was a good solid horror flick.
Yeah,
not bad. You know what it is? It kind of fell victim to that. Karen, we absolutely like Chucky. We're gonna get to that. Don't you worry. But
my little buddy.
It
doesn't die.
Yeah, like Jeepers. I think like, do you remember the movie Signs with Mel Gibson? Obviously,
yeah.
I think Jeepers Creepers suffered the same thing that Signs did. Is like the movie was amazing, and then you see too much of it at the end. Where like once you start seeing more of the aliens and Signs, you're like, it kind of lost its luster.
Yeah,
and I felt that way with Jeepers Creepers when you really got a good look at that guy. Like it lost kind of its luster. Like it's almost better to just.
Well, the chase was scarier than the creature.
Yes, it was exactly. And
so
that's the thing. It's tough to live up to that.
That's a fantastic point, and I think that's why the movie Alien, the original Alien, works so well.
Well, the original Alien was like a horror movie too.
Well, yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%.
They should.
And I think that's why it works so well, is because you don't actually see the alien in full until, well into the third act.
Yeah.
You keep guessing around.
It's done in such a tasteful way. And they designed that fucking alien so perfectly.
H.R. Giger.
Like
OG.
We've never seen anything that looks like that. Like it was crazy. Like, I don't know what it is. What happened that time period when every creature that Hollywood designed, I feel like they pulled out all the stops, right? Everything had a certain look and a feel and a vibe to it that like we've never seen shit like that before. Like look at Predator. Like I know it's not horror, but like just talking like design in general, what happened?
Well, I feel like everything before that was like Lovecraftian. It was all like sea monsters and squidular and stuff like that. Squidular. And then you turn into like the reptiles, where patent pending are that squidular. That's a word. Well, I'll get that in the dictionary later. But
Seed of Chucky.
I heard that was pretty rough.
You guys seen the Chucky series?
No, I haven't. I've been meaning to.
It's worth a watch. It's got another season coming out. It's definitely worth a watch, and that's a franchise that just doesn't die. It's they had the My Buddy dolls there, and what an interesting concept. Now I'll let you know it's a reboot, so it's a complete and utter reboot for the series.
Okay, that's what I heard.
That in mind.
Yep, different voice. How is it? It's not going to be the same without that original Chucky voice, though.
But just keep in mind, it's a complete reboot. There's a lot of they've taken some liberties with the original story.
Hills Have Eyes. That's a messed up movie.
Oh, the Hills Have Eyes. Cool. The original or the reboot, they're both pretty messed up.
Making some good points too. Like those, like it's all similar. Like they all are kind of in that same realm. Like Hills Have Eyes was pretty solid, but then the more you see them, it does suffer that kind of same that same vibe.
I feel like Hills Have Eyes, and it almost humanizes them more once you realize what's going on. And they're no longer necessarily purely perceived as a monster like they should be.
It's kind of like, did you guys see People Under the Stairs?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was another one from my childhood that
That
left
was-
me up at night.
Mhm.
Get the little door underneath your stairs. We had one of those in my house. Oh, man.
Oh God!
It was a little hatch door that was just had some totes in
Yeah,
it. Or whatever.
I didn't have a door under the stairs. I had a laundry room with a hook in it that my wonderful sister used to shut me into, turn the lights off, and lock me in there for what felt like at least a week. But it was probably more like 7 minutes. But the whole time she would point out that there was a big hook on the wall,
You know what
and
that
the
hook's
hook
for.
man was going to get me.
Hook Man.
Ooh, Silent Hill. Silent Hill, I think, is
Tara was the
underrated.
Hook Man from Silent Hill.
Yeah, she knows. She's saying
Yeah.
Hookman. She knows. Hookman and Bloody Mary. Lock me in the bathroom.
Oh my
and
god.
Make sure you have to say it 3 times in the mirror. You're not coming out. I'm like, yep, okay. But yeah, I got to be honest. The chat, you guys are on fire tonight.
They've got some great
Like,
ones in there. Poltergeist.
We had like subject matter for the show here, and like I'm just playing off the chat because this is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
you guys
So
are just-
Poltergeist, you guys remember that scene where the maggots are in the face?
Yeah.
And the guy just started, he's like, what is a little, oh no, it's a little bug. And then, my whole face, his whole face, it's just,
You're getting my skin crawling already.
yeah, it's so gross, but like it was clay and it looked so real. And the skin was plopping into the sink. Like you could hear it heavily plopping into the sink. And it was like, yeah, it was very good. Very visceral.
Yes.
Yeah.
Visceral.
Very visceral, very squidgularly visceral.
Very squishular.
And you know, at first all I thought of was the chairs stacked up on the table, and I'm like, how terrifying would that be? You walk down into your house and all your furniture is just stacked on your kitchen table.
Yep. You're like,
Oh my god.
great.
So,
I have
like-
to do a bunch of housework and be haunted tonight. Great.
Right.
Guess my mac and cheese is getting cold. Fantastic.
So I shit on a couple of reboots, right? We talked about that. Ooh, another good call out here. Exorcist, real quick. Yes. That's another one that can just kind of go forever because there's always possessions to be had.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Were you gonna say it, Rich?
no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna say the Pope's Exorcist is in theaters right now, and
Yeah.
apparently it's very good.
I hear
they're
that
taking
is
a lot of
fantastic.
they're doing like a lot of big stuff that they don't usually do, and like usually the Exorcism movies are fairly copy and paste, but this one I guess they're doing some really new stuff with, and it's doing well as far as I could tell.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm down to go see
see
that.
in the chat.
I'm really excited for Evil Dead. But
Sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, I looked it up. It is 2017. Let's see, what was this one?
Oh, the previous movie you were talking
you got to
about?
see it. 2013, Evil Dead.
Okay.
You have to see it before you see the new one because I'm having a hard time figuring out what to do. Yeah, it was so well done. Like I own very few physical movies, and I own that one.
Now, are they bringing? Here's the deal. They're going to bring the comedy.
Not that I've heard. I heard it's going to
Not
be
in
strict
2013.
horror.
You don't think so?
No, they're rebooting the entire series. This is a fresh start for Evil Dead, and it's going to be a strict horror flick, is what I've been reading.
They're playing it straight, huh?
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know either.
I mean,
Like,
I'm hearing fantastic things from early reviews, but I mean, part of the charm of Evil Dead is the campiness. Bruce Campbell and
Boomstick and all that.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that kind of the soul of Evil Dead?
It is.
It is the
you got a guy running around with a chainsaw for an arm. You know, I mean,
yeah.
And he looks really good for his age. He could 100% do more movies.
He could absolutely still
Bruce
be doing
Campbell
it. You're right. Bruce Campbell looks incredible.
He does. His
He
chin
does.
is bigger than ever.
So quick aside while we're talking about Bruce Campbell, has anybody seen Bubba Hotep?
Yes.
No.
Fantastic.
You need to see Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, I'm surprised you
Really?
haven't seen that one, Tim. That's a good one.
That's a
I
cult
have not.
classic. Yeah, that's a really fun. If you don't know what to watch and you want to have like a good, like you just want to turn your brain off and watch something, do that. Like, yeah, it's
Okay.
Bubba Hotep. Yeah, go watch
it's an
it.
adventure.
It's a good one.
Fair enough. That being said,
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I knew
Drink.
it.
oh, we're doing a drinking game with this. Holy shit! I need more Miller Lite.
Yeah,
see
Tara
you
told
grab
us
it.
last episode that we were
Right?
doing
That was a call out last episode. Time to look.
All right.
catch in.
So I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to run and get a beer. So I shit on the ones that the remakes were terrible, right?
Mhm.
We talked about those. So which remakes, reboots, long-awaited sequels do you think they got right? Go.
I got one. Go get your beer, and I'll.
Go ahead.
I got one for you. Well, I mean, I guess we should probably start with the big three, right? So we already said Nightmare on Elm Street reboot was awful. I didn't like the Halloween reboots, the Rob Zombie reboots. The one I did think was pretty good was the Friday the 13th reboot. Not great, but I thought it was solid. I liked it.
See,
I heard I heard everything you said.
I hear it.
So you said you didn't like the Rob Zombie Halloween reboots.
Correct.
I agree. However, can we talk about the new trilogy for Halloween?
We can talk about the first two.
Okay. As a whole, the reboot I thought was a great success. I thought so. I loved Halloween 2018, and I loved Halloween Kills.
The trilogy as a whole was incredibly solid.
Yes.
I think it didn't quite stick the landing in the third movie. The first,
that's an understatement. The third one definitely was horrible.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say horrible. It was not as good as the first two.
The
first two were fantastic.
I had all my chips in. I was so all in on this new. I'm like, this is amazing. I love this. Like, they're getting it right. They're doing it justice. Like they did the original stories justice. They just seemed to get it right. The kills looked great. Michael's character was perfect. Like you had Jamie Lee Curtis. Her role was perfect. Like her family, like they had it right. And then they just let it go in the last one. So, it
wasn't awful, but it could have been obviously much better.
And again, no spoilers for those of you who haven't seen it, even though it's been fucking good. It came out like 6 months ago. But that being said.
Okay, so I got one for you in terms of what I think was a successful remake. Hellraiser, the one that just released on Hulu.
Fantastic remake.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think, the critical reception was, really great for that movie. A lot of people were watching it. So hopefully that's the beginning of a new rebooted franchise, which I'm super excited for. One of my favorite horror franchises. I thought they did a fantastic job. Love the new Pinhead.
Me too.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect, of course.
It didn't go to theaters though, right? It was just straight.
It was Hulu. Yeah, straight to Hulu.
I appreciate streaming, being able to just like watch new movies on streaming, but I feel like I don't want them to get too fucking carried away with that because there's certain movies that should.
I go back and forth.
I do too, but like I think you should at least have the option to see a theatrical portrayal of that.
I think Netflix has proven that just the strictly streaming content, your own original content and things like that, and going straight to streaming is not going to be a consistently viable thing. Look at how much they've canceled in projects that they've done because they've bitten off more than they can chew. And I think that there are other companies who know that there is still profit in the theater audience. It's a lot more profitable than streaming, in fact. And I don't think that the companies are ready to give that up.
I mean, there are certain movies, I'm going to go see all the big AAA action Marvel kind of movies in the theaters. The John Wicks. Was I ever going to see the Hellraiser remake in theaters? Probably not. It's
bullshit. Bullshit. I call bullshit. You of all of us would have been the first one there to see it.
Maybe.
You know damn well.
Yeah, but as I get older, I start liking people less and less, and start not enjoying the theater experience more and more. So I'm just becoming an old curmudgeon.
I went through this down phase where I like hated going to the movies because I think, as you all know me, I don't like filth and dirty people and smells. And I think that's been well established.
All things that are in great abundance when you go through.
All things that are in great abundance
to be there.
So I don't love the idea of the movie theaters in general, like the sticky floors and like touching things that everyone else has touched. But like that being said, I did get a new I was reinvigorated with the movies and I've been going to the movie theaters a lot lately. And I even had a traumatic experience with some giant guy stunk up the entire movie theater to the point that it was so bad that they had to refund everyone's tickets.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's stinky.
Like something died. I think he had a dead animal in his pant leg or something. That's the only thing I can
keep my dead animals.
At what movie?
This was
Scream, wasn't it?
Scream 6. Yeah.
Okay, that so bad. That's why I've always loved the movie experience. For the longest time, I was a proponent of, see it in the theater. If you really want to have the true experience. I tell you, lately I've been going the other way. I'm not enjoying it as much as I used to. I don't like the other people around me, on their phones and they're chewing popcorn too loud. And
that's why you've got to. I picked the same seat.
Get off my lawn.
I picked the same.
But it's true. People at the theaters are just disrespectful. Like I had been to the theater the first time in a long time.
In the theaters, everywhere in life,
the kids haven't gotten more respectful with time. That's for sure.
I'm just saying, yeah. When I was younger and we went to the theaters, though, like people like shut off their phones. And,
it was a big deal.
Yeah,
it was a privilege. Yeah, it was a big deal. Yeah,
yeah. Nowadays, it's just not like that. Like people are so accustomed to checking their phones, and everybody just sees it as commonplace. Like it's annoying when you're watching the film, and boom, you get blinded on the left side because someone's got their screen brightness up at full. Like it happens far too frequently now. Then it ruined the experience.
Yeah,
I don't disagree, and you guys definitely sound a lot like this.
That was a great
Back in my day, we used to have respect for our youngsters.
So, real quick, I did want to.
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, they're the worst. People are.
And if there's anyone that does really mean it, Techie Spec. Oh. He means it.
Yeah, he's the anti.
You think I'm bad?
Yeah.
Just wait.
Weapons grade.
While we're still sort of on the topic of good reboots, in the comics, GZD was it GZDR for Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Him. He mentioned Night of the Living Dead remake.
Yes.
That is fantastic. That is.
Yep.
That is a remake that was very well done. It was sufficiently scary and gory. Really, I think respected the source material. Didn't try to do anything. Didn't try to reinvent the wheel. Really, just kind of honed in on the zombie genre, which isn't my favorite, but I think that that definitely.
Those are fighting words for Dan.
Zombies are my favorite.
I'm not anti-zombie. I think it's just been overdone the past few years. But anyway, I think that movie is specifically a well done remake.
See, I think that when on the topic of zombies, I agree that's a great remake, and I also think that Dawn of the Dead was excellent. But I think that we need a big time zombie movie. That we haven't seen a good, effective zombie movie in a while, like not since like 28 Days Later. I feel like was the last good zombie movie. Walking Dead kind of took over the TV screen, and then they had so many spinoffs.
Well, where do you go? What do you do to make it fresh?
Well, I mean, World War Z was actually it wasn't great, but it was okay.
See, 28 Days Later, I think was fantastic for the very reason that
they made it fresh.
It introduced zombies that could run full speed. Up to that point, zombies were all these, these shambling, meandering, skeletons with like loose, ragged clothes on. But in those movies, people turned within seconds and then they were sprinting after you. It was something completely different in the zombie genre. And I think really that was the last time there was any great shift or new ground broken in zombie movies or TV shows. Certainly, The Walking Dead, as much as I enjoyed most of it, I don't think it broke any new ground. So, I think at this point, unless somebody can find a way to revolutionize it, it's kind of stale.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. I will say with The Walking Dead, they did a few things that kind of broke new ground, in my opinion. And I don't want to give any spoilers for those who haven't seen it since the last season just happened. But prior to that, like anybody who died in the Walking Dead universe became a zombie, regardless to whether they were bitten or not.
Right.
And that was kind of a new take
true.
that hadn't been previously done.
Yeah, and it was that extra layer of like, if someone has a brain aneurysm in their sleep, you're dead too. So it's like there's literally no safety. You're safer as a unit, as a group, as a tribe, but you're also just at more of a risk because people have accidents, people pass away. Like,
so as a neat twist, as neat of a twist as that was, I don't think they really utilized it as much as they could have.
And when they first discovered it, I feel like it was utilized like season 3, maybe season 4, when they first like started making that part of the storyline. They started realizing, wait, they never got bit. How are they turning?
Right.
It became more of a topic, and there were instances.
It was season 2. So I don't know if you were going way back. So I guess we probably shouldn't go into spoilers, even though the shows.
Season 2 is not a spoiler at this point. If it's not spoiled, that was 10 years ago, you know.
Well, in the very final episode of season 1, a guy from the CDC tells Rick, he whispers in his ear, the audience doesn't hear it, but whispers in his ear that everyone is infected. And then
that's why they kind of abandoned. Yeah.
In season 2, Rick divulges that information. But to your point, I think that, that was a new twist on the zombie genre, but I don't think they utilized it very well. It could have been utilized more.
I agree. They could have used more of it. Like Dan said, the aneurysms in their sleep and stuff like that. That could have been something that definitely, always having a watchman up all night, all hours, keeping an eye on situations like that, that never came into the plots or anything. But
and like there's always a few times like early in the seasons where like, someone gets bit, doesn't tell their team, and then they turn like, silly, but you as the viewer, like he's bit, you can see him sweating as the viewer, and you're like, he clearly looks sick. How are these people not noticing? So it adds that layer of like, when is he going to turn? Not it, will. So it's like, but yeah, you can only do that a few times, and then that's, what do you call it? Then you've learned that. So it's like, it's not scary anymore because you expect it. So yeah, but Walking Dead always hinged more on the drama, the human to human drama than the zombies. But
Walking Dead really just went to shit quick.
Yeah.
It did. It fell apart. The spinoffs didn't do it any justice.
Well, Fear the Walking Dead 1 and 2.
The first couple
after
seasons
that,
of Fear
yes,
were really good.
But not the following 7 or however many there's been.
No. Well, it was exactly the moment that the Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead characters came together. When that happened, the stink of Walking Dead rubbed off on Fear the Walking Dead, and they started doing all these making all these terrible character decisions, and like the people didn't even act like people anymore, which is what the Fear the Walking Dead had over the Walking Dead. The characters in Fear the Walking Dead made human decisions. They acted, predictably. Whereas, the Walking Dead would be like, I can't leave him behind. And they'll be all dramatic about it. It's like, no, he's dead. You can see him getting eaten right now. Yeah. You're not going to go save him. You're just going to die too.
Fear really introduced the intro of the, infestation or apocalypse or whatever you want to call it, because, it all started out with them living in their house up on the hills, and, really showed like the breakdown of society more so than the Walking Dead did, where we just woke up to Rick in the midst of it after getting shot,
right
6 months later or however long.
Rick and Carl,
so big pudding. Carl, get off that roof with your pudding and stop getting bit. Like it's so goofy. And then you go to Fear the Walking Dead, and they're in like Mexico, like running drugs to get ammo. It's like, it's very real and gritty. And then, it's just ridiculous.
I don't want to spend too much time on The Walking Dead, but I can tell you the moment that
let's not.
Pretty much gave up on the show was when Rick didn't kill Negan. For me,
yeah.
That
people not acting like people.
Yeah, that was it for me. Anyway, moving on.
All right. Well, I want to jump in here for a moment, and with that being said, let's dive into our rankings, because I feel like we're going to continue a lot of this conversation throughout our list.
Let's do it.
We went with, here's the deal. Normally we like to do a top 3. It's cleaner, it's more concise, but this was a really, really difficult list, and top 5 was necessary. I'm going to keep it moving, but let's start in top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. Not the scariest, not the best. These are our personal favorites with all of our rankings. But I really want to dive in because we've mentioned so many of these movies right now.
Mhm.
Get to the rankings before we were all shit faced. And no, you did not miss the top 5. So let me throw it out there in descending order. Who wants to start?
Kick us off.
All right, Donnelly, number 5, top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. And you can't say a franchise. You can't say
No.
the Halloween franchise.
There'll be
You
a
can't
specific
say
one. If there's a
it has
franchise
to be a
involved, it'll be a
specific
specific
movie.
one.
Yep. And Rich, no honorable mentions.
Fuck off.
So I'll kick us off because every number on every movie on my list is one that left me wanting either more or thinking about this, keeping me up at night, sleeping with an extra light on, all of that type of stuff. And the number one that was a scary movie to me, and that's what I think of horror, I think of scary movies. And that's The Conjuring, the original first Conjuring, based on true events.
That's your number 5?
That's my number 5.
Yep.
Okay.
That's really good.
Yep.
Okay.
Dan, number 5.
Number 5, I'm going to go with Blair Witch. The Blair Witch.
Oh, see.
Tim, I know you can't do found footage movies as much, but that one wasn't too bad, I don't think.
I mean, that was the
Compared to, like,
original. So if there was going to be one, that would be it.
Yeah, but like I know
So
you
cool
love
on
it,
my
Tim,
list.
but yeah, that's my favorite.
I do love it.
Yeah, it was one of those where it was they showed off that you don't have to show a fancy, flashy monster with troll globules that's squidular. You don't have to, you don't have to put a huge budget into it. You just have to come up with a scary concept that will drive primal fear into you.
It doesn't have to be wet and
We'll
slimy.
do that, like starving in the woods alone, but also a witch. Like it was such a perfect movie. And then there was those little sprinkles of hope where they thought they were saved or they thought they found their way out, and then they super weren't. It was such a well done movie.
The marketing.
I saw that in a packed theater. I mean, people were screaming.
Yes.
Yeah, because it seemed like a documentary. They did it very convincingly.
Yep.
When they showed gore, it was very small increments of gore that were believable. Yeah, it was just
Didn't they keep the actors out of the limelight for that one? Like they requested the actors to do NDAs and stay home and
So even
not go out and do
even the
things.
marketing, it
was like a
all
War of the
seemed like
Worlds
it was like a
situation.
legit.
Yeah, they really sold it to
Yeah.
us.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep. What about you, Rich?
Rich, number 5.
So my number 5, as you can tell by my shirt, I am a big Stephen King fan. I've been reading Stephen King books since I was single digits. My number 5 is The Shining, which ironically enough, the movie is very different from the book, but nonetheless.
I wouldn't know. I don't read.
It's just the side of beer cans.
The
Shining, I mean, so much iconic imagery. The elevator, the twins, the frozen labyrinth outside. The typewriter. I mean, I could go on, but I think,
don't go on.
Oh, I could. Don't tell me.
Let me ask you this: we spoke about reboots earlier. How about the TV adaptation of The Shining that starred that guy from Wings? Did you see that one? It was an ABC TV adaptation. It was a miniseries event.
I never saw it.
So
it was way more accurate to the book.
It was very accurate to the book, but somehow they just drained the life out of it. And the best adjective that I can come up with for the TV series is that it was limp.
Limp.
Yeah.
Like so many biscuits.
Limp.
Limp's like after that lady got out of the bathtub. Limp.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my number 5, The Shining.
Yeah, I respect that. Limp like so many biscuits. That one's gonna stay with me.
Let's
just keep rolling. Keep rolling.
Yeah.
Rolling.
So I should probably pull up my top 5 list.
It doesn't stop.
Oh my God.
We can't stop.
My number 5.
It's amazing we have any viewers.
It is amazing. We don't really have that many, but the ones here are amazing. So I'm good with it.
We appreciate them. Stick around. There's going to get better, I hope.
Stick around. It can only get better.
Only downhill from here.
No, uphill.
My number 5, I guarantee you, isn't on any of your lists because it's not technically like quote unquote horror. I'm really curious if anyone knows this movie. I'm not talking about the remake with Nick Cage. Okay. I'm talking about the original Wicker Man.
Yep, The Wicker Man, fantastic
okay.
film. The original was so much better than the remake.
It is so goddamn scary.
It was creepy.
Like,
That was another 70s flick. That
you
one,
want to talk about unsettling?
I don't
that
think
shit,
I've seen it.
You've
Really?
got to see the original Wicker
The,
Man.
the original.
The original. I think it was like
Go
77.
to that. Look at that.
Write it down. Jot that down. But I'm telling you right now, it's basically a story of a man that gets stranded on an island. Everyone's acting weird. They're welcoming him with open arms, but you've got like a naked woman like doing a dance outside of the guy's door when he's trying to sleep, pounding on the walls. He walks by and like people with these cheap plastic masks kind of come up behind a rock and then they like just drop back. Like you're so confused and weirded out and like you're unsettled the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, like I'm not going to give anything away, but like there's this like religious cult that have their own like religion and they're grooming him to like sacrifice him.
I'm not going to give anything away, just the entire plot.
Well, no, but you know that's going on pretty early in the movie. It's not like
they can spell it out for you.
If you've been to Burning Man, you know it doesn't go well for you.
Yeah, it's the movie's called Wicker Man. So
it has nothing to do with the Nick Cage movie.
Well, the Nick Cage movie was a reboot.
Yeah, it's a reboot.
Same premise.
Same premise, though.
Same exact premise.
Yes, I didn't change any of the story.
Not great. The reboot's not great. The original 1973. Wow.
Nick Cage fan.
Yeah, I think it was early 70s.
It's so creepy and it's unsettling. It's an unsettling movie. That's all I'll say. Donnelly, number 4.
So for my number four, this movie is one that is very unsettling to me. I am a little bit claustrophobic. I'm a big guy and I like big space around me. So when I saw The Descent,
yes,
I was wondering when someone was going to bring that movie up.
Oh
yes,
boy,
The Descent is really creepy.
They go down spelunking.
Honestly, that's my only phobia is getting stuck face down underground like that.
I watched that movie and like when she's crawling through the spaces where she literally has to like breathe out to squeeze through.
It's tough to watch.
Oh man,
so
I had to be like so nervous. My heart's beating.
Your chest starts to hurt and you're like holding your breath and you don't even realize you're doing it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Scary movie for sure.
Arachnophobia is being mentioned in the chat. That one, the original movie was so good. I didn't see the remake. But the original one is really good.
I didn't know there was a remake.
I believe they did a remake somewhat recently.
Or
they announced it.
See, I thought that movie was a comedy when I first saw it.
I won't watch it.
Jeff Daniels,
it's kind of like a Tremors, right?
I won't watch
Tremors.
any movie about
little campy.
Yeah.
I will not watch Arachnophobia if they make a remake. I won't.
I think they already did.
I can't.
I'm getting anxiety just thinking about The Descent.
Yeah,
that's how.
I can't catch my breath.
I know.
Great shout out.
Popcorn.
Oh, that's fantastic. One of my favorite. Matthew Lillard. He's the star in everything he does.
Yes.
He is. He's not in enough. He's not in enough. But number 4, Dan.
Number 4, I got to go with 28 Days Later as a zombie man.
Ooh.
I have to go with that one because for the reasons I think, everyone kind of already said it, but it was the fast zombies. It was, you're taking a dangerous creature like a human and you're making it just have no reason, no sense of fear, no sense of pain. It just needs to kill and it doesn't know why. It's terrifying because they have just enough of their cognition to get through doors, get through, to climb ladders, to do that kind of stuff, but not enough to like solve logic puzzles. So if they see you, you're basically dead or as good as dead. But if they don't, you might live, but they might just kind of be around. Like it was like rabid humans. That's a really good concept. I think
that's a great well done zombie.
Very artfully shot.
Danny Boyle, right? But whatever, yeah.
Cillian Murphy, I think, is the lead. Yeah, Cillian Murphy's amazing in that movie. Like, it's phenomenal.
I agree. Rich, number 4.
My number 4 is the original John Carpenter's Halloween.
Little low.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's about where it should be.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it was a genre changing or defining movie. I mean, basically created the slasher flick.
Yeah.
The villain is iconic. The music is iconic. Yeah, I mean, clearly they're still making Halloween movies to this day, so its impact on us and pop culture has been pretty significant.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the movie making the list, but you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Sure, I was actually just going to bring up this movie to Donnelly that Sherry brought up, Buried.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
No, I have not. I strictly avoided that movie because
that
of how
is
uncomfortable.
That is a tough.
I get
tough
claustrophobic.
watch.
I get claustrophobic at the barber shop.
Yeah,
I can't watch that.
In
movie.
128 Days, is that the other one where he gets trapped under a rock or something?
Yeah.
I refuse to watch that one and Buried because it's too much for me.
Buried
I started
is
Buried,
a tough movie to watch.
Yeah,
it is not fun.
Number 4. I'm curious if this is going to make any of your lists also. Somebody mentioned the remake of this movie in chat earlier, but I, at number 4, have the original Fright Night.
Ooh, good movie. Real solid.
I feel
movie.
like it's one of the most criminally underrated horror movies of all time.
I think I had that in my top 15 that I did for this.
Yeah, it should. I mean, if Fright Night's not in your top 15, then you don't belong even conversing with me in life.
Get off the show.
Get off my lawn. Get off my show. All of it.
That was in my top 20.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So Fright Night, number 4, not 20. Fantastic movie, super underrated. It's a fun movie. It's creepy enough, but it checks every box that you want on a horror movie. It's got great music, great jump scares, great characters, great story, and it's succinct. It's to the point. For that reason, it's in the top 5. Donnelly, number 4.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Real quick, before I give my number 3, I want to say that I think the first found footage film that really shocked audiences wasn't Blair Witch. And
Will you say that again?
The first found footage film.
Okay, thank you.
I got it twice without stuttering. That's pretty good.
That's impressive.
Get it for the ringtone.
Cannibal Holocaust, though. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. It's not my number 3, but I just wanted to put that movie out there. I think that was the first. That movie got banned in many.
Oh yeah, there was it was Italian, right? Italian. Yeah. What's his name?
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't either.
If you can find it, it is shocking. There is some graphic stuff for the 70s in that movie.
Yeah.
But
do it.
That.
Can you
do it?
Yeah.
Toy boat. How was that?
Oh, I can't do toy boat. I'm good for like 4 of them. Toy boat. Okay, not terrible.
Unique New York.
Unique New York.
You can't even get one out.
No, I live here and I can't do it.
Have another one, you fucking.
Boy, I'm on a roll right now. I tell you. But back to my number 3. It was my introduction to Japanese horror, which is a whole genre that I've discovered and really enjoy. Japanese horror anime is also very good.
So
but
fucking dark and twisted out there too.
Yep. The Ring, and like it's just
The Ring's your number 3.
The Ring's my number 3.
Ringu.
Crab
Ringu.
The video footage of like the sped up movements and like things like that. I don't know. Ghosts that can move like super fast really creep me out.
Yeah.
And those unnatural movements of crawling out of TVs and things like that really creep me out.
Yes.
So definitely one of my favorite scary films.
That's a good one. That's a good
one. Which was a fantastic remake. I think that should have been definitely in our discussion for solid remakes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Tim just is stuck on Ringu.
Oh,
what are you laughing at?
Your comment. I can't. I'm dying. I'm crying.
Who? Me?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Number 3, Dan.
I thought someone else made you laugh. Number 3, I'm going to go with Ouija: Origin of Evil.
Ooh.
So
you know how I feel about that movie.
Yes, because I'm not a huge fan of any of the other Ouija movies. I kind of wrote them off for a while. It's kind of hokey and like, Ouija boards never really scared me, So like it was kind of like, I put it on one day. It was like one Halloween, just for something to watch, and like it was legitimately good, and I've been recommending it ever since to whoever will listen because it is phenomenal. The little girl they have to play the person of interest is really, really, really good. I haven't seen a child horror actor like that since Exorcism, and she just sells it. The effects are incredible. Like the story's good. It's fast paced. They don't make you, it's not boring. It goes somewhere. Like I really, really like that one.
Hey, you know how I feel.
I made you watch it because I was like, you don't understand.
It didn't make my list, but Jesus, did that scare the shit
out of
me.
It gets you, it puts the hair on your neck up. It will do it every
I haven't
time.
seen it either. I'm looking forward to it.
I was telling somebody the other day, like within the last day or two, this story. And I know it wasn't the Ouija Origin of Evil movie, but it was The Conjuring that I watched at your house, Dan. Like Dan and I watch a ton of horror movies
in
together.
The basement at night
on his projector. He's got
no mom
space on a big projector.
Nope.
So The Conjuring, that movie fucked me up more than any modern horror movie had in a long time, maybe ever. And couple that with the fact that, so first of all, I left his house at like 1:30.
Yeah, you got to do the whole story. It's perfect. So it's a 100% Tim story.
I leave his house at like 1:30. I get home at like 2. Okay, it's pitch dark, and where I lived at the time didn't have a lot of street lights. It was very dark. So I get out of my car. I am terrified. Okay, it's that type of spooky that just sticks with you. Like no matter what you do, you try to like listen to something to make you laugh, to like shock your body out of it, but I couldn't shake it.
You put on Weird Al on the way home. You're like, this isn't doing anything. This isn't doing anything for me.
So I get out of my car and it's dark. Keep in mind, it's dark. And I'm grabbing my keys and I do one of these like quick, like, all right, let me just get to the front door. And I'm rustling with my keys. Like I'm trying to get the goddamn key in the door. And whenever you're trying to rush to unlock the door, the key never goes in right.
Drop your keys or something.
Yeah, something happens. It never works.
You're doing the busty blonde in a horror movie. It's a real thing.
Yes. Yeah.
You freak out when you're under the gun.
Tripping over that stick.
As I'm getting the keys in the door, and you know the story, Dan, because I think I called you like almost
right after, because you're like, I have to tell you this because it's
So I'm trying to get my key in the door, and I just happen to look over my shoulder, and I took a double take. There is I'm not a hunter, but like, what are the point systems for a deer?
Yeah, the buck. How many? Yeah,
whatever the biggest one was fucking 5 feet away from me in my front yard, standing as still as could be, staring me down while I'm trying to get my key in the door. A buck, antlers,
right
this
there,
fucking wide, right in my yard at 2:00 in the morning, right after The Conjuring, when I've already just basically shit myself the entire ride home. And if I didn't shit myself on the ride home, I let it all out there, because the second I saw that buck, I started screaming. I was like, "Ah!" And I'm banging on the door. I'm jamming the knob trying to get that thing open.
You're spamming the SOS button.
Everyone in the house up. No one knows what the hell's going on. I'm like, oh, they're like, what the hell's happening? I'm like, there's a big giant deer in the front yard. And they're like, okay, so I'm like,
he's afraid of Bambi. They're thinking.
I'm like, I just watched The Conjuring.
You don't understand.
I'm terrified. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just want to go to bed. Like, I just need to go. Like, I'm sorry for waking the whole house up, but this shit sucks.
I remember too, there was another time when I first moved to New York and you would come over and we watched The Blair Witch at my first apartment, just because we were just hanging out. And I remember we went out back and then a huge moth like came flying at you like out of the darkness because we turned the light on. It came tearing at you like, Jesus God, I'm going in. You're like, I don't care. I'm just gonna go in. Yeah.
I can't. I don't know what it is, but
animals can sense when a human is feeling
they can, especially giant deer with
bottom of the food chain.
Antlers.
Yeah,
that thing was just standing in my front yard, not even in the backyard in the woods, just right by my front door, just staring at me like, "Hey,
just Babadookin'.
What you doing there?" I'm like,
"Oh, just Babadookin'."
Okay. Anyway,
your front yard.
And with that being said,
dude,
where the fuck are we?
I think it's Rich's number 3.
Yes,
Rich number 3.
All right. So we discussed this movie a little bit earlier. Alien. And for the exact reason that we already talked about, the monster was kind of hidden from view until the very end of the movie. You didn't know what the actual threat was, which kind of ratcheted up the tension, and kind of the blueprint for all kind of sci-fi horror movies to follow.
Mm-hmm. It was really the closest thing to like a representation of Lovecraftian nightmares that I think still we ever had. I mean, by the way, H.R. Geiger has a documentary on what is this? Amazon. It's called Dark Star. Nice. I watched it when it came out. It's phenomenal. You have to see it. Unfortunately you do have to rent it on Amazon, but you might be able to find it somewhere else. But he goes into his complete, like he talks, there's interviews there. He shows off some like stacks and stacks of books of just concept art that he's never used. It's just,
that's awesome.
Just there. Phenomenal artist.
I'm just going to say one thing. My number 3 is also Alien. So
how about that?
I'll get that out of the way. But I'm also going to jump in here. Not as scary as Fisher Cats. Fisher Cats, if you don't know what they are, look them up. They're terrifying little shit creatures. And here's the deal. So when I was in my younger years, I was a bit of a stoner, and I used to like to smoke a lot of Chiba. I do not anymore.
No.
However, I would go on my parents' back deck, little they know,
have a little jazz lettuce.
Me and a couple buddies out there, we'd smoke the devil's lettuce. We'd raise the devil, as my grandmother used to say. You're probably out there raising the devil.
Those boys are out back just railing Jimmy Jammers. Go out.
So we'd be out there raising the devil, and I swear to God, there was like 4 of us. It was me, my buddy Pat, another buddy of mine, Tyler, somebody else, taking bong hits on the back deck. And we're high as a fucking kite, okay? And all of a sudden, you hear what sounds like a blood-curdling child screaming about 10 feet away. It's like 5 Fisher Cats.
And it's super
roaming
loud.
The backyard. And it is so loud. And the Fisher Cats don't really exist outside of New England. So, like, unless you've heard that sound, I can't even describe it. And I'm not about to reenact it. But nothing will startle you more in that moment than when you're raising the devil higher than giraffe pussy on your back deck, listening to blood-curdling screams.
Oh my God!
Yes, why everybody scared me so much in my childhood? Yeah, that's why I have anxiety. Thanks.
I mean, I grew up in Maine, for the most part, my whole life, and I hadn't heard one until I was like 25. We were living in Maine, so I heard it and I almost called the police. I've never called the police in my life.
So
I almost
bad.
called the police because I thought someone was getting killed. I thought
it sounds like a child screaming, but it's a friggin' cat.
And we lived in the woods. So
almost looks like a ferret that's like 10 times the size or 20 times the size of a ferret. Looks like a
rabid otter.
Yeah, they're creepy as hell. Sinister is a good call. I couple like Sinister in with like Insidious. Even The Conjuring, it's that style of movie. I think they're really well done, well thought out. Cinematography's great, the directing's great, the stories are great. They're just well done. Like it's like chef's kiss to all of those style movies. I think they give the genre a lot of respect, and I hope they continue to make movies like that.
Dr. Giggles, oh my God. That's a blast from the past.
I've not had the pleasure.
Oh, you should do yourself a favor and find Dr. Giggles immediately.
Oh God.
There's something about like a dentist.
I hope
well, he was a doctor of some sort.
I feel like I remember this vaguely. Just
he took all of you. He takes everyone's teeth out.
I think The Dentist was a different movie altogether. But Dr. Giggles, that was.
I have to change
another movie my dad took me to.
Had no business seeing as a child.
Yeah, no.
Donnelly, I'm going to need you to take over for 2 minutes. I have to change my camera to plug my computer in.
Roger that. So, I mean, I think we were on to number 2 anyway for me. So I'll just kick that off. It's a movie we already discussed. It's one that I literally had nightmares about after watching. The twist was so unexpected. It was so well set up. They really strategically did everything right in this movie, and that's The Visit.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so glad that
Yes.
made somebody's list.
It is. I waited so long to watch it, and I was told by a million people to watch it, and I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. And I watched it. I was like, why aren't more people talking about this?
Right.
this movie?
That's what I said after I saw it. I'm like, how is it that, you know,
Incredible.
a friend of mine, Bob, introduced me to that movie. He's like, you need to watch this movie. You're going to love this movie. And like, I was like, all right, I love horror movies. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
And getting into it, it all seems so casual and so, you know, all of a sudden it just takes a really dark turn real fast. And that turn just keeps getting darker and darker until, you know, the
So many layers,
twist
the
and ending.
crescendo.
Stay out of the shed.
Sorry guys for the camera quality change here, but my laptop doesn't have enough ports, and I have
It sounds like a personal
plugged in
problem.
charging.
Sounds like these ports are full.
I have my laptop plugged in charging, and it wasn't plugged into the fucking wall. So, yeah.
Remember my first time using any kind of technology.
But where are we at? We're on number 2, Dan.
Yep.
Yeah, so Donnelly had the visit for number 2. My number 2 is The Grudge. The first Grudge.
The
Yep.
Grudge. There's a good one. Yep.
Yeah,
Another
The
Japanese
Grudge
horror.
is, I think it's super unsettling. I gravitate more towards that because it's death wasn't the fear. It was like, well, what the hell is even happening? It's like, yeah, they did such a great job with that specter or whatever the hell it was. And yeah.
That was another movie based on a Japanese horror film, correct?
Yep. I prefer the newer one personally, but
I mean,
because, the makeup was
Japanese
really
set up
good.
the story, but I think that the Americanized versions of a lot of Japanese horror is really well done, and maybe it's just because that's I'm the target audience they're going for. But I agree that it was fantastic, and both, you know, again based on Japanese.
Just so unsettling, like just. You know, that woman walking to the house and just it's so quiet and everything's a little askew. You can tell something happened, but there's no evidence of it. Like, and just peeling back those layers and figuring out what's going on and like never knowing when that thing was going to show up. It was, I just, you know, that was the most like that one just got to me. It got under my skin and I loved it. Like,
I agree. Number 2, Rich.
All right, so second John Carpenter movie of my list, The Thing.
I knew it.
I knew that
was
was
The
going to
Thing.
make your list too.
Yeah, I absolutely love The Thing. I think all these years later, it's still underrated. Doesn't get as much respect as it deserves. Just the whole. Oh, it absolutely still stands up. I mean, even though the practical effects are, you know, at this point 40 years old, you know, they're still highly unsettling. Like when the guy's head pops off and starts crawling away. Just the whole vibe of the movie, you know, they're on Antarctica in a research lab. It's claustrophobic. You know, there's only a handful of people there. And then, you know, once the thing kind of infiltrates their camp, you don't know who to trust. You don't know who is the thing, who is not, if there are multiple creatures. Even by the end of the movie, you don't know if the survivors are infected or not.
Yep.
It just kind of just leaves it to your imagination, which I think is fantastic.
That's where it gets most scary, is when you're left to your own devices to think about it.
Right after the movie ends and you're still thinking about it, like, wait a minute, what just happened? Who, you know, are these people really who I think they are? Are they actually people? Are they aliens? What's going on here?
Yep.
Agreed. My number 2.
Yes, sir.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, the OG.
Wow.
You want to talk unsettling? That old man thing, grandpa, being fed the remains of all the people that the mentally challenged son with the leather mask feeds him. That's about as unsettling as it gets.
Yeah.
A cannibalistic family at a time where no one had seen anything quite like that.
Yep.
When that movie came out, no one had seen anything like that.
That was another one that got me.
Jeffrey Dahmer. This was before all of that. They came out with something that literally disgusted everyone. And I'm going to tell you right now, Texas Chainsaw, one of the best to ever do it. It was a game changer when it came out. And the reboot with Jessica Biel was fantastic.
Yes, it was.
Agreed.
I loved it.
It's better than.
I'm surprised.
Better than some of the other sequels they released before that.
My God, yeah.
No, I actually, I'm surprised we didn't mention that in the reboots that we thought did it right. I think that absolutely
they got
is.
it right.
Yeah,
they got it right.
I'll say that I felt more fear in the reboot than in the original.
Oh no,
I do too.
No,
actually,
it's the setting up of the plot. It's the way that they kind of sneak around everything. In the original, I feel like they just got right to the gore.
See, I think in the original, the original is just more unsettling. You're just uneasy the whole time.
Yeah,
I think they definitely both offer like they're strong. Like you can say like, oh, the new one was great because you could see like the lighting was better. You could see a lot more of the gore, but then you could also say like, yeah, but the original one was so gritty and grainy. It was more believable. It almost seemed like it was
I will say this, like I think the original was more unsettling. However, I agree with Donnelly. I think the reboot actually captured a lot of that nature from the original, that grittiness, even the way they shot the camera. If you notice the lens, they shot it,
everything to it.
They gave so much homage to that original and did it so much justice that I have not a negative. I think it's one of the best remakes of any movie in history. I'll say that. Like just straight up reboot. Fantastic reboot. Well done. It doesn't get talked about nearly enough.
Yeah, I think it's the best slasher film for me. Like I'm not huge into Scream. I'm not huge, so like I like the Texas Chainsaw vibe more because it's so unpredictable. You have that weird family dynamic, like you said. Like, it's almost like Devil's Rejects if it wasn't a comedy. You know what I mean? Like that's essentially what that is. And yeah, really, really good.
Yes, GZ, that is the one with Lee Emery, and he is so good in it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, he's so good at. I mean, he's
good in everything.
He was great
and everything he's in.
He was,
You feel like he's gonna just snap and kill everybody. Like
he's got a weird energy to him.
Damn mind. It was so good. But just because I know we're all playing, like that being said, Donnelly, number one.
My number one was, we already kind of discussed originally. My original number one, I had two that I had tied for first place, and they were the two movies that I most recently saw that gave me nightmares. And one of them was discussed by GZ in the chat, and the other one was what I'm going to say here, and that's the Babadook.
Oh
yes. Okay, I was curious if that was going to be on someone's list.
I settled that down in my number one. Watching just the opening of that movie when they're sitting there in the bed reading the story, and the mom is so uncomfortable as she's reading the story to the kid.
Yeah, he knows immediately something's wrong.
Duke, and I'm like, ha ha ha. And then the scene in the car, and it's like it escalates so quick from there. That shadowy, crazy looking 10-foot tall creature thing. Another one where they don't really show the monster. Ooh,
yeah, they did a great job of showing that the parent is just as freaked out as the kid.
Yes,
but you can see the parent's wheels turn. Like the actor, I forget her name, the actress. You can see her like acting it out of like she's trying to convince herself that this isn't what it seems to be, but she has no evidence that it's not. Like it's a textbook haunting. But she's like, it can't be that. And, it was like, and then she immediately is like, it is
a rational mind about it. And she can't wrap her head around it. And
her kid is not helping. He's just freaking out.
And then they burn the book, which is a trope that happens a lot in these types of stories. But
burn it. No one. Yeah. Just destroy it. So easy. It's an immortal thing. Yeah.
What's funny, I'd never watched the Babadook before I met Dan, and Dan was like, "You gotta watch this movie."
It was one of the few horror movies that they got the hype it needed. Like, everyone always sensationalized these movies. Oh, 3 people puked watching it, and then you watch it, you're like, no, they didn't.
Goblin King,
David Bowie in the Labyrinth. The only thing that I was afraid of was the massive bulge that David Bowie put that had on in every angle of every scene of that. I swear they set the lighting up to just be aimed directly at his dick.
He probably refused to do the movie if they didn't do it that for him.
Yeah,
it was
part of his contract.
I'm sure it was in his contract.
It was that, and it was also before Shrek. This is before Shrek, when they used to make movies for parents and kids.
Yes.
So this was their version back then of like, hey moms, you've had a long week. You're taking care of your kids. you got them to the movies. Just zoom in for that. That's for you.
Were moms really looking for that David Bowie though?
I'm not sure they were.
Somewhere.
Rich, are you kidding me? They were all looking for it, moms and dads.
Yeah, exactly.
David Bowie though, yeah, but his whole thing was he was androgynous.
Yeah,
exactly. He appeals to all audiences.
Walk that line there. Yep.
So what? He didn't seem androgynous in that movie, let me tell you. But number one, right?
Yep.
I don't know.
Rich.
Wait,
we skip me. Yeah, sorry. Hold on.
Oh,
fuck you. We'll just skip you. No,
you can go to Rich.
This is David Bowie, man. Move along.
You're right. I blew my shot.
You know what it was? I thought when we were talking Babadook, I just assumed that was yours, but I remember that was Donnelly.
It almost was, to be quite honest. It really almost was. My number one is the It remake, 2017.
Ooh.
It's the king. It's the king to me of horror. Like
really well done.
It has everything.
I respect it, man. I respect
chapter 1 or 2.
Well, if we're counting it as 2 movies, I got to go with the first one. But I like them both equally. I personally consider it 1 movie, but
it is really.
It's technically 2 parts. So if that's the case, then part 1 and 2. But like, if I had to pick one of the 2, I think just the first one. I think they did a great job of like, showing the whole backstory without getting too deep into it, because they saved a bunch of that for later. Like they kept the reveals in layers. They didn't just kind of like, this is what's happening, this is how to get away from it. They had to figure it out every time Figure it out. They had to figure it out quick, or else they're gonna die. So it's like, it was a really, really cool movie. I
gotta say, I respect
Skarsgård did an incredible job with his eye thing, like doing the
that was pretty good right there. Fantastic.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh Jesus.
You want to play the game?
That's worse than the fucking rat shadow right there.
I think he's part android over there. What's happening?
Oh my god.
Glitching out.
Don't do that again.
I like
like
that you
Katy
went with
Perry
the
in that.
remake too over the original. Like, it's not often. I gotta say, I love the original It.
Yes,
Tim Curry.
the king.
But the new one is better.
It's much better. Yeah, for sure.
Better.
Yeah.
It's just better.
No doubt.
Yeah, and like we were
say
talking
that
about
very often.
Oh yeah, and like Tim Curry's incredible, and that movie is great by its own right. But like if you just have to pick one of the 2, I just got to go with the new one. It just hits harder. Donnelly, I think you were talking about earlier, like when you see a human's face that seems normal for a moment, and then all of a sudden it contorts, like your animal brain doesn't know what that means, and like it's almost paralysis with fear instantly. You know what I mean? Like it's when you're like, and then the face goes like that, and you're like, oh, it's just one of those, like it hits you on that primal level.
That gives you chills just thinking about it.
Contorting the face, man. Just
look at that cheese pizza.
Very own.
Your very own It pizza.
Down here. Credit card.
He slides it out of the sewer. Cheese pizza. He's making the pizza talk. Hey, your very own.
I like when he's like, "Dude, bundle up. It's quite cold out," and his bottom lip just starts. Anyway, that's a different episode. Rich, number 1
needs his own episode, to be quite honest.
All right. So my number 1. This is going to be a controversial pick, I'm sure. So number 1, Leprechaun in the Hood.
Holy crap! Never in a million years would have guessed that.
That is not my number 1.
I know what your number 1
You
is.
know what number 1 is. Hellraiser. Hellraiser.
Okay. Yeah. Which one?
I am a huge mark for Hellraiser. It's just, I don't know. It holds up. It's terrifying. It's gory. It's not your typical slasher flick. It's a demon from hell. The puzzle
Raising
box,
the devil,
the music. I love everything about Hellraiser.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. And I'm super excited that the reboot doesn't suck, and that it seems like there's a potential for more.
Yeah, they left it perfectly open to continue, and that's the best way to do it. Like, because don't seal that door. That box, Pandora's box, never truly closes, does it?
Monty, I think you and Rich became best friends.
That is fantastic. I need all the friends I can get.
So the cool thing about Hellraiser is it actually holds up today.
Mm-hmm.
Like I watched it recently. I think I actually showed
Kyle.
I showed Kyle the movie, who had never seen the original, and I'm like, listen, like you can't go your whole life without seeing Hellraiser. Like this has to happen now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it holds up today.
Mm-hmm.
Terrifying. That's you and Monty right there, Rich.
Just no nuts on the drum kit, please.
Yeah, exactly. My number one, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. We talked about this franchise a lot. I'm sure you guys probably already know. Rich.
Halloween.
It's Halloween. Mm-hmm. It's the original Halloween. And I think if you think of one horror movie character, right, that just sums up the perfect everything you want in a villain, he's not overly terrifying, but you don't know what the fuck is wrong with him. You don't know why he wants to kill everyone. The guy doesn't speak. He doesn't come back from the dead like Jason. He doesn't come out of the water. He's a normal dude that just...
Well, it depends on which continuity you're following.
I'm following the only one that matters.
Well, the original continuity gets a little...
I'm not following that one. I'm following Halloween 1. So the only one that matters, in my opinion, is the one that actually took the new ones into consideration. It goes Halloween 1 into 2018, kills and ends. Second place would be the one where it's Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, H2O. That's second place. The one I will never subscribe to is the one where 5 and 6 show him as part of this cult. You know what I'm talking about. And they completely ruin the character. So I don't even want to talk about that. It's so bad. But Paul Rudd's in it and looks, oddly enough, the same as he did when he was 18 as he does now at like 55.
I've seen memes about that going around.
Yeah.
They're really not bad movies.
I'm
gonna tell you right now.
5 and 6 are horrible.
They're not.
Yes,
I mean, they're not great.
I just rewatched them, Rich. They shred that whole franchise in those. Season of the Witch. Here's the deal. Michael Myers was not in it. Season of the Witch was Halloween 3. Okay.
It's a really great movie in its own right.
I was just gonna say that movie fucks.
Do you know why he's not in it? Do you know why he's not in it?
Why?
Allegedly, Carpenter wanted Halloween to be an anthology movie series where it had its own story. Now, he had the story for part 1 and 2 with Michael Myers to wrap that up and tie it off. And then it was going to go anthology from there, where he's going to keep making Halloween movies, but independent stories for each one following. They did Season of the Witch. It bombed by comparison to Michael Myers, so they brought Michael Myers back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that, I believe, have you gone, Donnelly, with your number one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All the number ones have been announced.
Round
That's
robin.
our top 5. We went a little over on time. I had a feeling we would. The horror movie genre is something we're all pretty passionate about. Listen,
a lot of good discussion.
We've got a lot of things written down. Okay, we've got a lot of topics of discussion for future shows. What's important to me, what's important to all of us, is to hear from you. If you're not already part of our Facebook group, join in now at Nerdstalgia Pod on Facebook. If you're watching us live right now, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, give us a like. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. We post more than just our live show. That being said, let us know what you want to see. We will rank. We'll take what you say into consideration and rank what you guys want. Topics of discussion for the show, let us know. Sound off in the comments. Sound off in the Facebook group. As always, we appreciate you joining every Monday night here on YouTube Live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're here every week, come hell or high water. Any final thoughts from Donnelly, Dan, or Rich before we send this bitch home?
Slap it on the ass and get it out of here.
Oh, I do actually. So to circle back to Arachnophobia, it is happening. Arachnophobia remake is happening. Director Christopher Landon, he says that once his current project is out of the way, he's going to start working on that. So
I don't want it.
It's imminent.
He even uses the word nobody asked to have remade.
I don't want it. I don't want to.
I loved it, dude. Jeff Daniels just walking into spider webs and freaking out.
It was so good. The original was so good. There's no.
I'm not denying that. I don't want to see spiders.
It was like 3.5 hours long, which was unheard of back then. I remember like staying up late multiple nights to watch that movie just because I needed to see it, because it was that like weird fascination with the bibbits and spiders.
The bibbits and the beeloos.
The bibbits and the beeloos. Yeah.
No, good call out. Donnelly, Rich, What do you guys got before we send this home?
Super quick. Didn't get a chance to talk about it. The Gate. If you've never seen The Gate, check it out.
I don't see that's a new one for me. I don't know that one.
Yeah, stars a very young Stephen Dorff.
Okay.
Wow. Before he was
Lights Out. Drag Me to Hell. I agree with. I actually really like that. Lights Out was cool with the old blind guy.
Ooh, Candyman. Candyman.
Lights Out was phenomenal.
Candyman at all?
And how we went a whole show without talking
without
Candyman.
even mentioning it. The
That's
reboot,
crazy to me.
I wasn't big on the reboot, but the original.
The reboot was hot garbage.
That's what I heard.
I disagree. I
haven't seen it.
Soundly disagree.
I hated that. And we'll talk about that offline. What we're gonna do for future episodes down the road is we're probably gonna do like an after hours kind of uncensored version of the show, as if we censor.
But censored already.
For now, we're a little over on time. But as always,
Tim's gonna take his pants off.
They've been off.
I'm gonna get comfortable. Everybody get a little more comfortable.
I'm working from home, baby.
Yeah, they've been off. They're not going back on tonight. But that being said, everybody take another shot. But Megan, oh my God. Thank you everyone who tuned in live. If you are watching this after the fact, thank you for checking it out. If you're not already subscribed to our channel, hit that button. Helps us out a ton. And please hit the thumbs up button. That helps us out more than anything. Helps the algorithm as we try to grow this channel. For Donnelly, for Dan, for Rich, thank you all so much again. We will see you next Monday night at 9 p.m. Great show tonight. Thanks for the interaction in chat. Have yourselves a great night.
Thanks all.
I owe you sips.
Oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom so bad.